Love that.
And when we're talking about choices, we have to talk about the death of rapper Juice WRLD. He was 21 years old.
Heartbreaking.
He was taking a private jet with his boys, and according to TMZ, the pilot reported to authorities that there were guns on the plane. There was also drugs. And allegedly, Juice WRLD, once they landed, allegedly he took a bunch of Percocets. And they feel that that might be the reason why he had the seizures and passed. First of all, I want to say I looked up this young man, and he had a very promising career. He started off on SoundCloud, then he worked his way up to Interscope Records, getting a deal with them. He had like the #2 song, which was Lucid Dreams, which is a very wonderful song if you haven't heard it. So he had a very promising career. Journalist Jamil Hill tweeted about Juice WRLD, and she said, at some point there needs to be an industry discussion about the drug culture surrounding these young artists. I'm not talking about weed, but the use of opioids and other drugs that are costing them their lives. The industry is really failing these young people. So what can we learn from his death?
So sad. We can learn that death and addiction does not discriminate. For anybody who is in a relationship with anybody who is an addict, you know that you're an anon, and it affects the rest of your life. And the crazy thing about drugs is, because I know, in my past, I've definitely been introduced to different things. It's not just that first high. Because what happens is drugs give you a rush of dopamine that you naturally already get, God's gift. You get it when you're looking at your child. You get it when you kiss somebody you love. You get it when you're excited about a job. But when you take a drug, it replaces that level of dopamine, and it increases you in such an unnatural level
it's artificial.
that you can't replace it. So the brain thinks, oh, you've got it. I'm not going to replace anymore. I'm not going to make anymore. So when you come down, it's a spiral of depression and anxiety that then you only can go to that drug to get that same normality or that stability. And that's where addiction starts. So it's really dangerous. Even that first time, man, don't try it. It's not worth it. You don't want to replace the joy that you naturally already have.
Yeah.
It destroys you forever. You can never replace that.
Can't get back to that.
Jeannie, I love that you're so open and honest about your experience. I just want to ask because I had a different experience. I think growing up in the hood and actually having personal connections to people that have been on drugs, seeing people die from being on drugs. My mom scared the living daylights out of me to ever touch, like literally, we grew up in the heroin epidemic in the Lower East Side. There were people literally doing the Matrix around the street. Like, it was like scary to walk in the streets. And my mom would literally take me and be like, that's what drugs does. You want to do drugs, that's how you'll end up on the street. So I've even had like anxiety, like you guys know, I can't even drink coffee because I get anxiety about if it makes me feel different. I don't want to ever be out of control. But there are other people who don't feel that fear.
I believe they're glamorizing.
And they're like glorifying it.
But there are people that are fearless that instead are curious.
It's a curiosity.
I want to ask you.
It has to be better in the other side.
What made you curious to ever want to try drugs?
I love that she put me out there on live TV. But that's my girl. That's my friend. No, that's my friend. No, I definitely experimented. And I know now at 40, looking back, that I had a really dark time in my life when I split from my family and moved out, lived in San Francisco, like every drug you could imagine was there. And honestly, it replaced the joy that I didn't have. So it made me, being high was so much more fun because it felt like, oh, I feel special. I feel like a rock star. I feel loved. You say anything you want to say. You're fearless. And then that crash is what made me realize that it was darker than the pain that I actually had in my life. And that led me to like go, oh, shoot, this ain't for me. Like this, because that pit, it's the dark place. It's not a place you want to go.
You were able to walk away. There are so many people that can never make that change. They can't walk away.
That is so true. It's a hit. Like I said, it doesn't discriminate, but I was able to have the discipline to not get addicted.
Okay, what goes through your mind when you know the consequences of doing something like this?
Scared?
Yes, and then you continue.
You mean
to
before I did it or after I tried it?
Before or even while you're doing it? Because, I mean, that's the issue with this whole story. I actually agree with Jamil when she was saying that we have to make sure what we're glorifying nowadays, especially when you have youth like looking up to you, because the reality is money, fame, that doesn't immune you to the consequences of drugs.